Sit back, relax and enjoy listening. The morning air was heavy with tension as RK stood in his kitchen, the soft hum of the coffee machine breaking the silence. He poured the steaming liquid into 2 mugs, his movements stiff and deliberate. SV's scathing words from the morning echoed in his mind, each syllable cutting deeper than the last. Across the counter, Jill leaned casually, trying to gauge RK's mood. Still thinking about her? He asked, taking the mug RK handed him. RK let out a bitter laugh. Thinking? No, Jill. I'm done thinking. I did everything I could for her, and all I got in return was... Jill sipped his coffee thoughtfully. She's complicated, RK. Maybe she's dealing with something else. Maybe this isn't about you at all. RK's glare silenced him. Don't justify her behavior, Jill. I'm tired of being the punching bag for her issues. It's not fair. RK slammed the mug onto the counter, coffee sloshing over the rim. I stayed with her all night, made sure she was okay. And what does she do? She tears me apart the next morning like I'm her enemy. The sound of the doorbell interrupted their conversation. RK frowned. Who could that be? He opened the door to find the rest of his bandmates standing there, looking concerned. Morning, RK, one of them said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. You left the party early last night, so we just came to check. Is everything all right? RK sighed, running a hand through his hair. Come in. I'll explain. The group settled into the living room, coffee cups in hand. RK recounted the events of the previous night. Finding SV in a vulnerable state, staying with her through the night, and then the morning confrontation where she lashed out at him. I don't know why I even bother, RK said, his voice filled with frustration. No matter what I do, it's never enough for her. She hates me. But now I promise myself not to pay attention. The room fell silent as his words hung in the air. One of the bandmates shook his head in disbelief. This is exactly what we've been telling you, RK. She's not worth it. How many times are you going to let her treat you like this, before you wake up? Another chimed in, his tone sharp. She's toxic, man. Always has been. You think doing all this for her will change anything? It won't. She doesn't care about you, RK. Stop wasting your life, trying to repay some imaginary debt. RK's jaw tightened, his hands balling into fists. You don't understand. I don't do this because I want something in return. I do it because it's the right thing to do. The first bandmate scoffed. The right thing? RK, you're breaking yourself for someone who doesn't even respect you. How is that right? Jill, who had been quietly listening, finally spoke up. That's enough, guys. RK doesn't need this right now. The others turned to him, their frustration now directed at Jill. You never say anything about her, one of them snapped. Why? Can't you agree with us for once? Jill stood his ground. Because I think there's more to this than what we see. You guys don't know how everyone was searching for her. But none of them would have ever found her if RK hadn't been there. You don't know how RK's heart guided him. RK glared at Jill. Don't start, Jill. This isn't about feelings or anything. It's just pure coincidence and nothing more. Isn't it? Jill challenged. Then why do you care so much? Why do you keep going back to her, even when she pushes you away? The room fell silent, the tension palpable. RK looked away, unwilling to answer. One of the bandmates shook his head. You're delusional, Jill. She's not some misunderstood soul. She's selfish, cruel, and completely wrong for RK. The argument continued, voices rising as the group split into 2 sides. Those who vehemently opposed SV and Jill, who insisted on giving her the benefit of the doubt. RK, caught in the middle, finally raised his voice to cut through the noise. Enough, he shouted, his tone sharp enough to silence the room. Enough, guys. Please, I don't want to discuss this anymore. Let it go. I just want to forget this. Please let me, please. Let's just get to the office, RK said, grabbing his keys. We have a long day ahead. The day's rehearsals and training sessions have been grueling, but RK welcomed the physical and mental distraction. It kept his mind off the events of the morning, at least for a while. By the time the sessions ended, exhaustion weighed heavily on him. His body ached, and his head throbbed, but the anger simmering within kept him awake. You sure you're okay to drive? Jill asked as RK grabbed his bag. I'm fine, RK replied curtly, brushing past him. The city streets were quiet as RK drove through the late-night silence. The rhythmic hum of the engine was his only companion, the empty roads offering no distractions. His thoughts, however, were anything but quiet. Why do I even care? RK muttered, his voice low but heavy with frustration. He clenched the steering wheel tightly. How can someone behave like that toward the one who cared for her so much? I pushed aside all the anger, all the history, just because I felt she was in trouble. I wasted my sleep, worried myself sick, and for what? To be treated like this? To hear her say I'm nothing to her? It's like every effort I make only pushes her further away. His jaw tightened, and his gaze darkened as the weight of her words replayed in his mind. I didn't expect gratitude, but this was too much, SV, too much. You should at least have some sense of what you're saying, and to whom you're saying it. Are you only born to hate people? To make them believe they're the problem? Can't you do some good for at least one person? Can't you? How can you be so mean? As the car sped down the deserted highway, his grip on the steering wheel tightened. The memories of SV's words played on a loop in his mind, each one cutting deeper than the last. Suddenly, a figure darted into the beam of his headlights. RK's eyes widened in shock, and his foot slammed on the brake. The car screeched to a halt, the tires skidding against the asphalt. Heart pounding, RK sat frozen for a moment, staring at the shadowy figure standing just a few feet ahead. A girl, her clothes disheveled and her hair wild, stood motionless in the middle of the road. RK quickly unbuckled his seatbelt and stepped out of the car, his legs shaky as he approached her. Hey, are you okay? He called out, his voice tinged with concern and urgency. The girl didn't respond, her wide eyes filled with fear, as she didn't even look at him, like a deer caught in headlights. RK took a cautious step closer and asked again, Are you hurt?